Hi and welcome. My name is Craig Fisher and I'm the Programme Leader for Fine Art. I'm going to spend some time talking to you about our programme. Although the presentation is correct at the time of delivery, it is subject to change. Fine Art at Derby is interdisciplinary in nature. The course is designed to help you explore your individual passions, interests and ideas in the development of your own practice. The course will actively encourage you to foster your own sense of curiosity. We want you to be experimental, to take risks, to explore new ways of making in the development of your own artistic identity. One of the distinctive features of studying fine art is that you become part of a peer group, a community of artists. That's both staff and students. And the studio is at the centre of this activity. That's the space for making, for thinking, for questioning, for engaging in dialogue around your interests, around the things that you are excited about. You will explore new methods and media and materials. You will engage with the development of your kind of critical framework through an integrated approach to art history and theory, and you will be supported in the development of your professional practice by a range of opportunities that run throughout the course. While on the course, you will be introduced to and actively encouraged to work across a variety of media and disciplines in the development of your art practice. Students on the course work across a variety of media, including photography, sculpture, multimedia, film and video, sound, painting and drawing, printmaking, performance, installation. There are no limitations. What is most important is that you consider what's the idea and what is the most appropriate form for that idea. We've developed excellent working relationships with a wide range of creative organisations and partners, such as Quad, Art Corps, Derby Museum and Art Gallery, Furthest from the Sea, Cromford Mill, Primary, the National Justice Museum and UK Young Artists, to name a few. We work with those organisations in order to provide opportunities for our students to work with external agencies to allow them to establish and create links within the region, and as a way to develop their professional practice within the creative industries. For example, this year, the second year students work with Cromford Mill and the National Justice Museum to create site-specific works within their external professional context module. As I've already mentioned, the studio environment is pivotal to your experience on the course, and the fine arts students have really excellent designated studio spaces at Britannia Mill. They offer the opportunity for students to kind of negotiate how they want to make work and be really flexible, but also to be really ambitious. So we have a range of spaces that students can really test out their ideas. Alongside that, you'll be able to kind of really develop your skills in a really environment and creative atmosphere across the university. So we have the latest Apple Mac computers with all the latest industry software. You're able to kind of work across print, ceramics, wood and metal in our workshops, as well as really fantastic textile studios. So there's a range of different opportunities for students to really think through their ideas and develop those ideas through the different kind of media kind of workshops that we have available to you. Again, we have really interesting. If you're really interested in photography, we have a range of facilities, including dark rooms. There's a print bureau if you're kind of wanting to kind of explore kind of the digital. We also have laser cutting. You can do digital embroidery. So there are lots of really exciting opportunities for students to kind of really push their ideas. The Art and Design Library, I think, is fantastic, and it's a real resource and something that students will use throughout their time on the course. Some fantastic kind of art periodicals, along with the range of kind of monographs that you might want to look at. So there's some really, it's a really fantastic resource. And as well as that, we also have a media loan hub where you can also book out lots of kind of the range of equipment that you might need in order to develop your practice. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how you will learn. So while you're on the course, I think it's really important to understand that the first year of the program is really a kind of a moment of transition into kind of higher education. But while you're on the course, we also want you to kind of really to take risks, to be experimental, to really think through how you want to develop yourself as a kind of creative practitioner by maybe developing kind of more a variety of kind of process-based learning opportunities. So, the kind of really it's about kind of introducing yourself to the subject, to be really curious and to want to find things out. And so in that, we want you to kind of to really to take advantage of the idea that actually your risk taking and your sense of experimentation is what we really want to foster. So on that, kind of all the level 4 modules are a pass fail, and then on your kind of on your development into stage 2 or year 2, we want that kind of sense of you really continuing to develop that sense of experimentation, but also to kind of really identify kind of maybe the kind of areas that you're interested in. And within that, start to think about that in relation to kind of a more outward-facing professional approach. So we want you to start to think about maybe career aspirations, or to kind of start to think about maybe kind of professional work experience, which is kind of something that we do in some of our modules, that you'll start to kind of be a kind of work across a range of kind of opportunities to kind of think about your work in a kind of external or kind of situations. And we want you to really think about starting to kind of, through that experimentation, develop a kind of personal or individual kind of art practice where you're starting to develop a kind of emerging inquiry. And then as you go into kind of the final year of the program, that's really that moment where we want you to start to think about yourself as a kind of independent kind of artist practitioner. And we want you to think about how the knowledge and experience and skills that you've gained are being brought together to a point of resolution where you feel that you have a kind of distinctive individual art practice, and that you're also starting to think about the next phase of your career, so life beyond your degree. You may be thinking about profession, again, so we're kind of looking at professional practice. We'll be starting to get you to think about maybe, are you interested in postgraduate study? Would you like to, are there certain kinds of career paths that you would want to kind of pursue? But essentially, what we're really wanting to do is for you to feel really confident in the fact that you have established your own individual art practice. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the program structure. So we have 4 modules in year 1. We have extended context, contextualizing practice, introduction to studio practice, and experimentation and curiosity. So the main studio modules are introduction to studio practice and experimentation and curiosity. Introduction to studio practice is really about giving you a sense of what is possible. So by exploring a range of kind of workshop areas and media, and being introduced to different ways of making and kind of thinking about practice, that will start to kind of give you a broad understanding of what's possible. And then in the second kind of part of the year, when you kind of engage with experimentation and curiosity, we want you to start to really, with that knowledge, start to think about the things that you are curious about and the things that you want to pursue and the ideas that you want to develop. So that it becomes more about you develop a kind of independent approach. Extended context is a really exciting project in that it's the kind of first project where you will develop something kind of externally, and you'll work with a range of new media, and often that's an off-site project. And contextualizing practice is the first theory module of the course, and again, what that does is it opens you up to to the kind of range of maybe contextual theoretical ideas that are kind of that we would think about in relation to contemporary fine art practice, and so that you can start to kind of figure out where you might see yourself or how you might develop a context for the kind of artwork that you want to make. And then when you go into year 2, we have locating practice and staging and engaging audience, which again are the larger studio-based modules. So locating practice is about, once you've kind of explored and experimented in stage 1, we want you to come into stage 2 and start to think about the specific kind of contextual ideas and kind of an interest that you have, and start to think about the type of kind of practitioner that you want to be, so that you're developing but still being experimenting with those kinds of ideas. And then at the second half of the year, we do staging and engaging audience. And that's really specific in that we want you to start to think about audience. We want you to start to think about how you may be developing a body of work and establishing your practice, but we want you to start to think about how that work might be staged or presented or displayed for a viewer, for an audience. So maybe starting to think about the fact that you're developing a set of intentions, and how are those intentions interpreted by a viewer, by an audience. So that project and that module is really exciting in that we work together, and we develop an opportunity for you to show off-site and to work with an external agent. So for the last few years, our students have been working and developing shows at Riverlights, and they're really amazing shows and really excellent. So students get kind of real practical real practical engagement with kind of what it means to put on a show, to kind of what those kind of mechanisms are. So it's helping you to develop your professional practice. External professional context is again working with an external agent or agencies or kind of organisations. So as I've already mentioned, this year our students worked with Cromford Mill and the National Justice Museum, and we want students to work and to respond to those sites or the specific natures of those organisations and to create work accordingly. That's also connected to their practices. So you work site specifically and you work with those organisations. And then practicing theory is again a development in terms of the stage 1 module, where you've started to think about a kind of how you might develop a kind of a contextual framework, and then that's kind of developed even further through this idea of starting to think about different philosophical or theoretical frameworks that you might start to want to engage with in relation to helping you to kind of articulate a kind of critical thinking around your practice. So we want you to, in year 2, we want you to kind of to start to be kind of speculative around the kinds of propositions and kind of ideas that you want to make. And then we go into stage 3 of the programme. Stage 3 is really where you have, obviously through stage 1 and 2 of the programme, you have developed, you've experimented, you've been curious, you're fostering a sense of your own kind of things that you're passionate about and excited about. And then you've kind of honed those ideas, and you start to bring them to some form of resolution. And you start to think about the type of practitioner that you want to be, the type of artist that you want to be. So the final practical module of the course is a large module where you really have that time and space to really we still want you to be experimental, but we want you to start to bring those ideas to resolution. So the idea of thinking about an audience and the viewer becomes much more kind of pivotal, because at the end of the year this will all culminate in your degree show, which is a kind of public exhibition where you will really, hopefully by that point, feel really kind of confident about the kind of artist that you are. Alongside that, you will also be developing a kind of critical inquiry and really starting to think about how those kind of critical ideas help to underpin and support and advocate your practice and the kind of thinking that you want to make, that you do. So for me, I would say that it essentially that these are kind of, every time you make a piece of work, every time you make a kind of you develop a piece of writing, you're trying to figure something out. You're trying to find out the kind of what kind of artist that you want to be. And in relation to both of those things, so the kind of critical inquiry is an extended essay, where you will articulate a kind of critical framework that is very much connected to your practice. So there's this kind of integration of practice and theory. And finally, in professional practice, that module really is starting to get you to think about your career beyond the university, and to kind of establish your kind of yourself as a professional practitioner. So we ask students in that module to develop a website, to start to think about how they want to represent themselves and present themselves as artists within the kind of creative industries. So the website is an opportunity for you to really articulate who you are as an artist. And alongside that, there will be a range of talks and professional kind of practice sessions, which help to kind of you to think about maybe different career choices or paths or possibilities that you want to pursue, and how artists have navigated their kind of the development of their own professional practices. Assessment will take place through the coursework that you produce. So you will develop bodies of work in each of the modules, and this will be the thing that you submit for your assessment. As part of that, I just wanted to say that we have really strong working relationships with our students. The staff are all work very closely with our students, and we want to both be supportive and challenge you in the development of your practice. So you'll be given a kind of ongoing kind of informal feedback through the variety of different teaching modes that you will encounter. So that's kind of tutorials, crits, seminars, lectures, and then you will have much more kind of formal points of feedback at summative points of assessment. The current entry requirements are 112 UCAS points. If you are excited and want to make an application, we will invite you to an interview so that you can present your portfolio. This is a really interesting and exciting opportunity for us and for you to kind of meet us, and so that we get to meet you and we can get to talk through your ideas. And it's an opportunity for you to show us your passions and your enthusiasms and the things that you're really excited about. And if we can see that, and we can see that potential, then you're going to be somebody that we really want on our course. So we're looking for that really good mix of qualifications, but we really want to see your enthusiasm and excitement through the portfolio that you present us. Okay, so I'm going to show you some of our recent graduates, and I wanted to kind of share the kind of breadth of work that our students kind of produce on the course. So this is Avalon Oakes, and Avalon was kind of predominantly working in print, and these were kind of solar etchings, and she was looking at kind of microscopic kind of images from nature, and then kind of replicating them, blowing them up and replicating them. And she produced a really beautiful body of work, and was given the Foundation Derbyshire Award last year, which was fantastic. We also have Ellie Emerson, and Ellie was really fascinated with film, and with she produced this body of work which was phenomenal in its kind of labour intensiveness. So this was series of film stills that she replicated over and over again, and she made really beautiful kind of work using kind of painting as kind of her primary medium. And we have Shebba Juntilla, who kind of again has kind of gone on to do lots of things and has worked with organisations such as ArtCorps kind of upon graduation, and but was primarily interested in video and performance, and this was her installation from her degree show, where she'd kind of utilised these kind of household objects to kind of create these I suppose kind of choreographic performances, and again kind of really interesting work. This is Ellie Phillips. So we've got kind of moved through print, kind of painting, to kind of more performative kind of video work. Now this is Ellie. So Ellie Phillips was kind of really interested in kind of developing a kind of material inquiry. So worked a lot in our ceramics department and worked a lot in our casting department. And developed a really interesting kind of language which kind of talked about industry and kind of the industrial, but also starts to look like a landscape and kind of something really topographical, but also kind of dealing with kind of more formal material issues. So yeah, really beautiful practice. And finally, this is Jazz Lucas. Jazz was really interesting in that she worked across a range of different media, but predominantly her degree show, she produced kind of both video and performance work, so live events and video. And she was working with a selfie stick and phones, and produced this really interesting kind of choreographic video installation, as well as these kind of more live events. So you can see there's a range of different media that our students engage with, and we really encourage that kind of diversity in terms of the approaches that our students take. Okay, so as well as that, we have these lots of kind of additional opportunities on the programme and things that kind of extend and develop your experience kind of while you're on the course. So we have a really exciting visiting artist programme, which is kind of currently called Articulate, the Artist Talk series. This year we've had a really fantastic range of guest speakers, from Mariana Simnett to Fiona Curran through to Hitain Patel, so these artists are working professionally, they're working kind of across a range of media, and so they're kind of really active in their practices, and they're kind of really current, and we want our students to really be able to really listen to kind of artists talk about their work who are working at the kind of forefront of contemporary fine art practice. We also kind of are kind of get to be able to kind of work with the kind of Vickers Award, and the Vickers Award it was established for kind of emerging painters, and the successful artists will receive a studio and kind of material costs, and they will work for a year in Derby, and they get to work with our students on the course. So the current graduate, Ed Burkes, has done one of our Articulate talks, but is also working with our first years across workshops, and so it's really exciting to be able to it's an exciting way for our students to kind of engage with somebody who's both emerging but also kind of working in a kind of through their practices, and we try to run both national and international study visits, so we want our students to be able to kind of encounter and be actively engaged in looking and experiencing art. So in recent years we've been to Paris and Berlin to kind of go and see some contemporary art, but also we run trips to the Liverpool Biennial, we try to organise trips to London, last year we went to the Hepworth and to the Yorkshire Sculpture Park. So it's really important that that you are kind of active in looking at and experiencing art. So it's really important. So this is just a kind of image of Ed in his studio in Derby, which is at it's been really fantastic to see how his work has developed over the course of the year. As well as that, you also have other opportunities within the wider kind of frame of the university. So there are lots of societies that you can join that are a really big part of university life, and they they provide you with an opportunity to kind of meet other people from different courses and to work across who work across different disciplines. So it's a way of kind of extending and expanding on your experience while at university. So there's, for example, the Art Society, which is really aims to bring people together to make art, to learn new skills, and to work on kind of community projects. I think in terms of careers, we're really proud of what our students have achieved over the years. The skills that you develop will be valuable across the kind of creative economy, and we have students who've gone on to work in lots of different discipline areas, including art therapy, curation. They've worked in the kind of gallery and museum sector. They've gone on to teach. So yes, it's really important that you understand that as a kind of graduate of an art program, you are equipped with a huge amount of transferable skills, and those skills can take you into lots of different kind of career paths, and we have lots of our students go on to be practicing artists, and they are kind of opening studio spaces. They're developing kind of residencies or undertaking residencies. They're exhibiting both nationally and internationally. So and as well as that, we also have students who go on to do postgrad study. So whether that's in art or art education, or within kind of art therapy. So lots of our students kind of continue on after graduation to develop their kind of develop their careers. Staff on the programme are all practicing artists, and they are engaged in their kind of ongoing research. So it's important to say that we have a wide variety of kind of specialisms, and from painters through to sculptors through to art historians. So I suppose the thing that I really want to kind of is to kind of to reiterate is that yes, we are all active in our art practices, and I think that's really important that you understand that we have a kind of currency. So here's the teaching team. So as I've already mentioned, I'm Craig Fisher and I'm the programme leader, and I also run Year 3. We have Caroline Locke, who runs Year 2, Carl Robinson, who runs Year 1, and then we have Jeremy James, Roger Brown and Robert Bairstow. And just to kind of point out that we will all work across all levels of the programme, so you will engage with us at different times over the duration of the course. I think we're a really friendly bunch, and we are really excited to work with our students, and I think that's really important. So with that in mind, I'd like to say thank you for listening, and I really hope that you are considering coming and making an application, and if you do have any questions, please do get in touch. Thanks again. Thanks for listening. Bye.